We read one day, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But if a man doesn't have a job or an income, he has neither life nor liberty and the possibility for the pursuit of happiness. He merely exists. Estimated that we spend $322,000 for each enemy we kill in Vietnam, while we spend in the so-called war on poverty in America only about $53 for each person classified as poor. The promises of the Great Society have been shot down on the battlefield of Vietnam, making the poor, white and Negro, bear the heaviest burdens both at the front and at home. The other thing I want you to understand is this, that it didn't cost the nation one penny to integrate lunch counters. It didn't cost the nation one penny to guarantee the right to vote. But now we are dealing with issues that cannot be solved without the nation spending billions of dollars and undergoing a radical redistribution of economic power. Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of You Left Shit Out. Let me make sure you can hear me right off the bat because my headset is not working. So I'm just listening or hearing the sound from the computer. So I want to make sure you can hear me properly. All right, so let me try to connect my headset again. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to click this and see if I can hear something. All right, it says connected. We'll see. All right, so welcome to another episode of You Left Shit Out. I'm your host, Compton J or J. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, but the basic, I guess, overarching topic is midterms and desperation. Like, I mean, we've seen desperation over the last several months with them trying to pretend like Biden has had a string of wins. So we've seen this attempt to get people to believe that, but the latest polling has shown that that hasn't worked. That the Republican Party is still looking like the favorites here. So it sounds like the sound is okay. Let me just play 1 second of this video and see if I can hear it in my headset.
We read one day.
All right, I'm good. So I can't hear it in my headset. So all right, so I'm good. Of course, starting out with this video, Martin Luther the King. If you're talking about which show is that, Coming to America? That's the joke, Martin Luther the King. It's funny. Some black people do say it that way. Martin Luther the King. Not as intentionally. It's almost like unintentional, and it becomes the person's name because so many people say it that way. But anyway, let me make sure I retweet this. I haven't been doing that. A lot of people have been saying, how come I never see your live on your own Twitter page? So I just retweeted that for those that have reached out and told me that. So we're going to be talking about Bernie Sanders. Let me put the graphic back up. We're going to be talking about Bernie Sanders and how he's basically on the campaign trail for the blue imperialist team. So there is that. We're going to talk about Stacey Abrams, and I mean, she's not going to win this race. Polling is clearly on Kemp. Is it Kemp? Yeah, Kemp's side, and she has a problem with not a problem, but polling for overall black voters is lower than she got the last time she ran, and then in particular with men. I think it has gone down like 10 points or something. She needs to be in the mid to upper 90s in black men, black women. in order to win. So that's kind of have been a story. She says it's an attack and a smear campaign, just simply untrue. That's how she phrases it. We'll talk about Biden and him saying he's going to codify Wade. He's going to codify abortion rights. And then we also have to talk about Fetterman, the one that would keep being used as the progressive in his race. And then it's like he's better than the other guy. Like, politics is the only thing we accept this sort of dynamic is he's better than the other person. Like, think about that in your spouse. Oh, why'd you marry us? Better than the other person. I mean, just think about that for any other aspect of your life. You don't accept that. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. I think we're probably going to start. Where am I here on the screen? Let me open up another Twitter here. Almost talked about the online left, but had to decide against it at the last minute. But let me pull this up here. I'll put this up first because it's the Speaker of the House. She's out, rarely out doing interviews. And of course, she's out doing an interview. I'm sure you can hear me. Yeah. She's out doing an interview with the wife of Greenspan, Andrea Mitchell. So they're kind of just talking, chummy, gals talking, friends, ruling class, fellow ruling class people. So let's listen. We'll stop and start in parts, but I think this is a good way of starting the overall idea, and then we'll get into Bernie Sanders first. So here is Nancy Pelosi on corporate media.
Joining me now to discuss the midterms and other important topics, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Welcome, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure to be here.
So let's talk about rising inflation concerns along with crime, giving new momentum to Republicans after the Democrats were closing the gap, the historic gap.
Yes.
So after the Supreme Court ruling, there was huge outrage. That has seemed to subside, at least among overriding concerns. Despite all the legislative accomplishments, and I want to cite them, I want to, say it's been an extraordinary session. You and the president have done so much in terms of domestic concerns, the economy. So why is this message, why do you think the president has gotten this message through to the voters?
Well, first of all, let me say that I think that much of what you've said, I don't agree with.
I have to stop it here. I did see a comment, not the one on the screen, but one a couple of down. I just want to make sure. Let me read the comments above it. So it says, wish I could watch them cry and beg. That's the first comment. I'm just going to go in order, and you tell me if you're understanding this comment that I'm going to bring up here. Then it says, I wish I could vote so that I won't vote for them and rub it in their face. I thought that was pretty funny. And then I didn't put this up earlier, but I'll just go in order. Mamba, make AOC bartend again. And then this is the comment that I'm getting to, this one right here. I'll be back, but you are a fool in order to get it past the moderator, maybe. If you think the American people give a damn about abortion and that could barely pay their bills working 80 hours. So Conrad Murray is obviously new here. Conrad Murray obviously doesn't know we don't stand for any Democratic party. And the position you're saying you are a fool about is a position of the Democratic Party, that they're taking, that abortion supersedes economics. And it's the reason they have that perspective is the reason they have to have that perspective is because they're not going to do anything economically. So even though inflation is the top thing, economics is the top things, people paying their bills is the top thing, like by far. And I think one of the videos we're going to watch today actually says that. I think one of the Steve Kornacki videos, he points this out with the numbers. You know how he goes on a survey board. So Roe v. Wade should have been defended and codified while they had the chance multiple years under Obama. And and even here. Why didn't Joe Biden codify it with the Senate and the House, knowing the amount of people they had in the courts? They just overturned Roe v. Wade. How long has Biden been in office? But you have to understand, so they're banking on that anger of Roe v. Wade being overturned and trying to channel it as to say it's only the Republicans' fault, when the Democrats are equally responsible, in my opinion. If somebody says I'm going to hit you with a sledgehammer, in 50 years I'm going to do it, and you don't see the sledgehammer coming and protect yourself, what does that mean? They tell you 50 years beforehand, I'm going to hit your ass in the head with a sledgehammer. And you're not ready for that. So, yeah, maybe Conrad is new here. Yeah, we're not, that is not going to be my perspective, certainly. We as people who believe in single issues have to understand that everybody's single issue ain't your single issue. That's just the fact. This is specifically why having the idea of the perspective of coming from the worker, which kind of involves everybody. It's a broad category. You have worker, employee. Everybody fits into that. So this is also something Bernie Sanders has been saying. Abortion rights is a very important thing. It's just not the only important thing. And Democrats are focusing on that and neglecting others. It's going to be Bernie Sanders' point when we get to that, which is the first thing we're going to get to after this first video. We're not watching this whole video, but I do want her to make a couple of points from the Democratic standpoint. I think Nancy Pelosi coming out a few weeks, or what is it? A little more than 2 weeks before the actual election is showing how desperate the Democratic Party is. They see the polling. So let's listen to some more of Mama Bear.
That is to say, the New York Times poll, I think, is an outlier poll. You cite one poll, but all the other polls.
It's also the Real Clear
different
Politics average is showing similar issues.
No, but that was one that brought down the average, and it was an outlier. It wasn't even that big a sample. So I dismiss that.
So this is Nancy Pelosi, and you see this dynamic with her. You saw it with Blitzer, and the same time when she was saying something about sending out checks when Trump was in office. And she's like checking them. Like, oh. She's checking Andrea Mitchell saying, polls, smoles, whatever. Let me tell you what the actual truth is, okay? This is the ruling class checking the media saying, motherfucker, this is the line you're supposed to be giving if you didn't get the memo here. So let's listen to Nancy.
Outlier poll. You cite one poll, but all the other
It's
polls
also the Real Clear
different
Politics average is showing similar issues.
No, but that was one that brought down the average, and it was an outlier. It wasn't even that big a.
That's what an average is. You average all the numbers. That's what an average is. Intellect is not a strong suit of Nancy Pelosi, at least not how she comes off. Maybe she's a genius in the background. Maybe. She doesn't come off that way. Let's continue.
big a sample. So I dismiss that. I've been, since Congress adjourned, I've been in an average of 5 states a week. And I can tell you that women's concerns about their freedom are very, very much still very significant in terms of how they will vote. In fact, 80% of people who care about a woman's right to choose say they will vote, they will determine who they vote for.
So 80% of those, you have to understand what she said there if you didn't catch it. She didn't say 80% of people of registered voters. So you have registered voters. Hey, everybody who believes women's right to vote, raise your hand. Okay, all of you go over there. That group of people, she's saying 80% of them.
So again, Washington has always been, oh, the Republicans are going to win, there's no question, for a year and a half. Now that that has diminished in terms of that certainty, and there is a real race on, the Republicans are pouring endless money, dark, undisclosed special interest money into the campaigns. But
Oh, it's so funny that Nancy Pelosi talks about dark money and and saying it in a bad way, because does she forget that the Democratic Party had a chance to exclude or prohibit dark money in their own primary, and they say, "Oh, fuck that shit." So I'll show you a headline here. I'll show you this headline, then we're going to come back to this video where I'm at. We're at 2 minute mark. I think it comes back exactly. So here we go. Democrats decry dark money, then they won with it. That's just one headline. We also did a story on the same, on I think yeah, I can show you that. So I'll go back to YouTube. I'll show you ours. And maybe I think I have the link to the article that I'm looking for. Is anybody here? Why is this moving slower? So yeah, I'll go to RBN, Revolutionary Blackout Network. It comes up automatically. And then let's go to the video. I did. It was either me. Was it just me? Anyway, we're gonna find out, because Democrats, this will be the first time I use my video. So this is kind of as a receipt. Wow, I didn't realize I had done it so far back. Because here it goes, and it's called Your Team Dark Money. Your Team Dark Money, and this is when I'm reporting on that. Let me see if I put it in the comments here. Did I? I did not. Sorry, I did not. But we're gonna go. Oh, it was me and it was Rome and I. So this was Rome and I who did this stream. Wow. Yes. Okay, so here we go. This is where we cover it. So let's listen to a little bit of the coverage here. Can everybody see that? Let me do that shit. That's basically what happened, because they used to complain about it. I have video of like, I think it's Nancy Pelosi complaining about when they did it. I'm gonna rewind it a little bit here so we can hear the beginning of that. Yeah, exactly.
So, they won't have too much nothing else to run on after Biden is done with his destruction anyway. They won't have too much else to run on, because most of it is gonna be, just an afterthought, or you know what I'm saying, shoulda, coulda, woulda. We can't even get those laws back, can't even get those amendments back, because they're gone. And You know, these are one of the things that they're always going to hold over each other head. Oh, he's getting money from oil. He's getting this money from blah, blah, blah. But all of you, like the party, the country overall needs to be overhauled. Like there is no, like even if you was to get dark money out of the Democrats, out of the Democratic Party, then it's stuck in the Republican Party. So.
So I just wanted to show, let's just go with the headline so we can speed this up. Now is the time for Democrats to ban dark money for primaries. So the way I covered it in the segment is, even after already knowing that Democrats have said, hey, we're going to go ahead and say green light with dark money, I still told it in chronological order, where they were writing articles how, yeah, the vote is coming up where you can either ban dark money or keep it. The vote was coming up, right? So I was playing, doing it in chronological order. So let's go to the next headline. Do I have another headline? Yes, right here. Oh, no, I was reading the article. My bad. Let's go to the next headline. This one. DNC face vote on dark money. Now, this is, if you remember, I can't remember which interview we did. I think when I went on Bad Faith and Brianna Joy Gray says, hey, there's an interview I saw. You can't say that. Don't say, well, I don't think it's appropriate to say David Sirota is not valuable, because I've seen you on your own stream use David Sirota, the lever's work. And I was telling her how I strategically uses that, because I'm going to use your own words against you perpetuating, trying to push this party. So I was using his article, pointing out how they're saying dark money. DNC faces vote on dark money. So again, chronological order, it's coming up, got their own thoughts on it. And then let's go, to this part here. Now, this is a actual clip of an segment talking about Democratic Party being actually the top receivers of the money. So let's listen. Commercial, man. We want to throw shit at the fucking screen. But let me let me turn the volume on first, and then I can make this full screen. So let's listen to this report here, and this is NBC News.
Today, Elizabeth Warren unveiled her plan to stop the flow of dark money in politics. But as the 2020 election nears, an NBC investigation found that Democrats might actually be on track to top Republicans in dark money donations. NBC's Laura Strickler is the reporter behind that story. She joins me now from Washington, D.C. And Laura, what exactly is dark money for people who don't know, and what role does it play in our elections?
Great question, Allison. So the vast majority of money that's in our elections, we know where it's from and we know where it's going. But about 10 years ago, the Supreme Court said they would allow in money into our elections that where we don't know who has actually given the money. And so for the last 10 years, we've seen Republicans embracing this opportunity, putting money into elections from anonymous donors. But last year, in 2018, that flipped. And now Democrats, at least as of last year, were dominating the dark money operations around the country.
Democrats dominating the dark money operation. Democrats. Now, I'll let it play a little more. I just remember, I think it does show the actual number. So let's at least play it until she shows the actual amount. Let's play it a little more.
And what we've seen so far for 2020 is that trend is continuing. It's early, obviously, but that's what we're seeing so far.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, those patterns from 2018 seem to be continuing as far as you can tell?
They are. And, we're seeing about 8.3 million spent by Democrats so far compared to around 7.5 million for Republicans. But we're also seeing that, a lot of these Democratic candidates for president are saying they don't like dark money. They think it's terrible. It's a problem. And they want to do something about it. But, by next summer, we're going to have a nominee. And the question is going to become, is that nominee going to take this dark money from anonymous liberal donors?
Yes, he or she certainly will. And I want to fast forward because this before. Now let me fast forward to the article, Rome, after this, where we now know how much money the Democrats took. And this one comes out of the Hill. So Democrats topped GOP in raising spending in raising spending dark money from undisclosed donors in 2020. The report shows, and this is earlier this year, this was January 2022. And I'll read a couple of paragraphs here. Make sure that's up. My bad, everybody. I need to make sure I can see this. Okay. Democrats reportedly, let's see if I can make this bigger for the seeing impaired like me. I found out I need to get some glasses. I'm farsighted, so this is the part where I need it. Anyway, Democrats reportedly outpaced Republicans in raising and spending so-called dark money from undisclosed donors in 2020, according to a new investigation from the New York Times. The Times found that 15 of the most politically active nonprofit organizations that typically support the Democratic Party spent more than $1.5 billion in 2020, with 15 similar groups that usually side with the GOP used about $900 billion. So you're talking about Democrats, Rome. That's about a difference of $600 million. You know what we can do with $600 million? You know what we can do with all this money? So again, that's the Democratic Party. So now let's backtrack all the way back to the video where Nancy Pelosi was trying to say in a way of, oh, look at the Republican Party. They're look at them in dark money, when Democrats are literally taking by far the most dark money.
Discuss the midterm.
And let's fast forward back to around 159. Where we were at. So now I'm going to let her say this dark money part again, and then we will continue. So let's go.
It has diminished in terms of that certainty, and there is a real race on. The Republicans are pouring endless money, dark, undisclosed special interest money into the campaigns, but we're holding our own. It's a matter of who turns out to vote. There are issues that of course, we want to fight inflation. It's a global issue. But some of the inflation in our country sprang from the fact that this president created nearly 10 million jobs, at least 9 million jobs, working with the private sector. The private sector creates.
So, let me see if it's an analogy. So let's say your rent is $1,000. Is this a good analogy? Let's try it. Let's say your rent is $1,000 and you lose 900 of it. You lose it, right? Just like we had jobs and then we lost jobs during the pandemic and depression and all that, right? Let's say we lose 5 million jobs, and then, let's say we lose 40 million jobs, and then you gain 10 million back. Do you come on TV and say he has created the most jobs in history by creating 10 million jobs, getting back 10 million jobs of the 40 million? So if you raise the additional $900, would you say that's like you saying now you have $1,900 like on top of the 1,000? Kind of a tricky analogy or dumb analogy, but you get the point. We started in a deficit. Digging yourself out of a deficit or a hole, you have to become flush first before you can start saying, oh, now he's created these abundant jobs above what we already lost. Let's listen to some more circular logic nonsense from Nancy Pelosi here.
It's a lot of that, and when you, as the distinguished chair of the Fed told me when I was a brand new member of Congress, Chairman Greenspan said,
She's laughing because that's her husband that she's speaking to. Isn't that nice? To be sitting, getting interviewed by the wife of the person you're speaking so fondly about, having a serious interview. That's so great.
when you're talking about inflation, unemployment can be dangerously low. So they are not unrelated. So we feel pretty good about it. I track these campaigns very carefully. I believe that we will have the mobilization to own the ground, to turn out the vote, the clear message. We want to give women freedom of choice. They want to have a ban on abortion. We want to support and strengthen Medicare, Social Security, et cetera. They want to use the debt ceiling to cut.
They want to strengthen Social Security. The problem is there's video of Joe Biden talking about cutting Social Security. Bernie Sanders used it in his campaign. That's the problem, Nancy. Fancy Nancy. That's the problem. So let's continue.
Cut that. We have lowered the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. They want to reverse that. We want to save the planet for our children in the future. They say that that's a hoax, and that's the argument they used on the floor to oppose the Inflation Reduction Act, which made historic gains for fighting the economy.
Let me ask, why did the president?
This is where the term woke has the capacity of even being captured. You see what Nancy Pelosi is saying? We want to save the planet. She doesn't really want to. She's projecting that to the people who want to vote for, who's going to vote for a person saying that. That's not what the Democratic Party is interested in doing whatsoever. So then it's like, wow, your fake pretending climate change bullshit, you calling yourself woke, and that's what you're talking about? Okay, you're woke politics. You see how it's captured?
President wait till now to make this major push for what he says will be a post-election call for a fast track on abortion rights nationwide, because the House passed it in the fall after Texas. The Senate failed to win the vote in the spring. Why didn't the president really push for that last fall when outrage over the draft opinion showed the handwriting was on the wall?
Well, the president has been a very strong supporter of a woman's right to choose. In your preview, you said, why is he waiting until after the election instead of doing it now? We don't have 60 votes in the Senate. If we could get 2 more.
You don't think he could have pushed harder on the Senate?
She just said they don't have 60 votes in the Senate, right? So how the hell is Joe Biden promising to codify Roe v. Wade if he gets 2 more senators? I think he said that. How can the Speaker of the House be saying we need 60 votes? That's why we can't do it now. And at the same time, Joe Biden is on the campaign trail for the midterm saying, we're going to codify it if you send me 2 more senators. That's not 60 votes. Hooray for new math. Is this some kind of new math? That's not 60 votes. So remember what she's saying here when we get to the Joe Biden video. So let's scale it back or rewind it back a little bit just so she can see. Here, she's talking about Roe v. Wade.
The handwriting was on the wall.
Well, the president has been a very strong supporter of a woman's right to choose.
He's been a strong supporter. There's video of him. What are they saying here? There's video of him saying the contrary. And it's my belief that this is the reason why the lackluster response to it is because he don't give a fuck. He's fine with them overturning it. So let's listen to some more of this, and then we'll continue to the next video here.
in your preview, you said, why is he waiting until after the election instead of doing it now? We don't have 60 votes in the Senate. If we could get 2 more.
You don't think he could have pushed harder on the Senate
You
last
think
spring?
we would have gotten 10 Republican votes? You think we would have gotten 10 Republican votes? Oh, come on. You know, let's with all due respect,
Okay.
the fact is we need to get 2 more Democratic votes to push back this the filibuster, and therefore be able, with 51 votes, to enshrine Roe v. Wade into the law. And that will be on the 50th, around the time of the 50th anniversary of.
So I guess they're saying they're counting out Manchin and Sinema. Does anybody have a bet? What's your bet? Let's take bets here. What's your bet on who's going to be the third senator that all of a sudden is not for this? What's your bet? Who do you think it's going to be? Because Sinema and Manchin are rotating villains. And it has been reported, or said at least, that there's more Democrats who are against it. These are just the 2 that are allowed to go out and say, hey, we're against it. Some of the jokes in here is not made for TV. It's very over the top here. Maybe I'll still put them up. Remember when they hit Bill Gates in the face with the pie? It was beautiful. Mama Gare mind games. That's what she's playing right now. She tells you what the truth is. It does not matter who it is. There is always a rotating villain. But Democrats will lose the House in November. That is true. This is another reason why, like, you see how this is a lie? They're going to lose the House. So how are you going to codify it if the House is not going to even they're not going to vote on this? It's not going to pass. Just think about that. All of the audience here is putting it together, but there's voters that's not putting it together. That Joe Biden is saying they're going to get it codified, but they're about to lose the House.
Of Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision. When the court decision came down on Dobbs, we were ready. We were ready with great candidates, with mobilization at the grassroots.
When they came down with the ruling, notice what she said. When she said we were ready, what did she name as being ready? Some sort of we were ready with candidates, motherfucker. Vote blue. I don't understand why people think this is the party. All this party filled with former Republicans. Joe Biden, the friend to segregationists. Now he's cool. Like it's just what people are willing to believe because they're not willing to understand that to accept that the streets is the way that we're going to get this done, getting into the streets, general strike. So Bernie is done. He needs to retire. We're getting to Bernie. Actually, I think that's enough of Fancy Nancy here. Taking a break from her ice cream to come on and talk to the wife of Greenspan. So let's move to the next thing. Bernie Sanders I have as the next thing here. 1 second, everybody, because for some reason I prepped something else. I thought it was this. I thought it was Stacey, but the wire was covering Bernie Sanders, so I prepped Stacey in the background. So I need to pull up Bernie's video, but it's one video that I'm going to start with, and it's Bernie Sanders. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. And it's Bernie Sanders going out to, or saying, hey, I'm about to hit the campaign trail. I'm hitting the Kent Road in closing. Okay, yeah, here it goes right here. I'm hitting the road again to tell you to vote for the people who are already in power, not doing anything for you. So that's where we're going. Oops. Darn it. So let's refresh this. Then I can get the link. All right. Now I think I am ready to move to this. So let's get to Bernie Sanders. The first part of, because the whole video, I guess it's in sections. In the first section is Bernie Sanders, but this is the overall thing is Democrats are desperate. Bernie Sanders is being sent out to get all the non-establishment young people. Hey, go send out that surrogate that is the best with the young voter. And a lot of other segments, not just young voters, but a lot of other segments. Send him out. We're not giving the motherfucker nothing. No. So Bernie Sanders says, I'm hitting the road again because this is the most important midterm election in our lifetimes. Bernie Sanders says this is the most important midterm election in our lifetimes. Man, day. I still have the shirt. So we're on Bernie. This is him hitting the road. Let's work together to end one-party rule in Washington. So we getting rid of the Democrats and the Republicans then, huh? But let's listen to what he's talking about. This is Bernie Sanders.
Some of you may know I'm going to be hitting the road this week. I'm going to be leaving my beautiful state of Vermont. I'm heading to Indiana, Michigan, South Carolina, Iowa, Wisconsin, Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, and California. I'm going to 9 different states for a very simple reason. This midterm election on November 6th is the most important midterm election in the modern history of our country.
It's the most important midterm election in modern history. They're already bringing it out. Is this the first time I've heard? I think this is the first time I've heard this is the most important midterm election. So now what's going to be next after this? Because it was every 4 years is the most important.
Our country. If you are concerned.
I didn't know I can start and stop that. Or I keep forgetting that. So every 4 years it's the most important election every year, every time. Now we're going down to the off years. We're gonna say it's every midterm election is the most important. What's next after that? Can we drill down even more? What's most important? The primaries. That's it. Primaries. That's what's next. This is the most important primaries. Don't you see the progressive Democrats saying that? When they have to run against these terrible corporate Democrats? Do you see progressive Democrats running, trying to get more leftists out to vote? Do you see them saying that? That's how I feel about it also. Lots of great comments. Anyone want to follow Bernie off this cliff? Electoral politics are all a total scam. And what was the other one? Every election is the most important, blah, blah, blah. So let's continue with Bernie's blah, blah, blah.
About the disastrous Trump policies from the White House. If you're concerned about the reactionary one-party rule that we have in the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate, stop moaning and stop groaning and stop complaining. You got to come out and vote. You got to bring your friends.
Vote for who? So stop moaning and complaining and vote for a Democrat we're going to put in there and do the same thing, continue the one-party rule. Bernie Sanders campaigning on the campaign trail for imperialism. this is where Kashama Sawant makes the point. You know how weird this is to have this dynamic where you have to go out and shield for them, and then at certain points say that they're terrible and they're bought and they're corporate. You see the sort of twisting and turning you have to do in order to even be a part of the Democratic Party if you are to the left. If you say you are a leftist, if you say I'm progressive. Let me see here. Where did I? Oh, hang on a second here. I'm going to show you the receipt. I do have it quickly accessible. I believe I do. Because I believe the main RBN account recently tweeted it out with I'm sorry. Recently tweeted it out. Man, I forgot about Cory Bush's book deal. I just saw a clip from it. Maybe not. Anyway, when I find it, I will bring it up. How about that? When I find it, I will bring it up. But let's get back to the video at end.
Friends, co-workers, and your family members through the polls. 4 years ago, in the United States, we had the lowest voter turnout since World War II. And what the polls are telling us very clearly, if the voter turnout is low on November 6th, the Republicans will continue to control the House and the Senate, and Trump will be able to do whatever he wants. On the other hand, if the turnout is high, the likelihood is Democrats will regain control over the House, and I think we stand a shot to gain control over the Senate. So if you're sitting out there and you're tired of working...
So, I forgot. There's 3 videos, Bernie videos. So I wanted to show what he said then to try to prevent. They got into the power, and then nothing happened. And now the video. I want to show you this video because the other video he's going to be playing, the one that's new, sounds very much just like this. So that's the first one. Where is the other one here? Actually, let's finish it first. Let's finish it, and then I just remembered that there's 2 videos. So let's finish it, and then I'll play that, and then I'll go to the Kashama Sawant video.
Working for longer hours below wage. If you're tired about not being able to afford health insurance, if you're a young person who can't afford to go to college, or you're leaving school $50,000 or $100,000 in debt, if you are a woman concerned about the ability to control your own body, if you are gay, or you are an immigrant, and you're worried about the kinds of discrimination that Trump is fomenting in this country, don't sit back and think that somebody else is going to do it for you. You're going to have to do it for yourself. So if you are in one of the states that I mentioned, where I'll be in the next week, in Indiana, Michigan, South Carolina, Iowa, Wisconsin, Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, and California, please come out to the rallies that we'll be doing with some great candidates who are running for the Senate, candidates who are running for the House, candidates who are running for governor. Come on out and join us. If you are not in one of those states, follow us on social media.
So he sheepdog for the Democratic Party, helped them get elected, helped them get the majority, and then he said, so this is the middle video. So there is 3. Then he said, hey, I need to make sure the Democratic Party actually does something. Now they won. So he went out, stumped up for them. Now they won. Then he says, okay, and this video is in the middle ground. Then I'm going to show you the more recent one. Let me make sure I don't miss anything here. Man, there might be some breaking news. I might have to see what that is in just a second here. So then he did this video, which is, okay, we need to start doing something for the working people, or else we're going to get clobbered in the midterms. This is This is in 2021, I'm sorry. So the previous video was before the election, got them elected, got them the majority. Now he's seeing that they're not doing anything. Oh, this is the beginning, right before they're getting started. He says, hey, let's make sure we're doing this, and taking care of them, or we're going to lose in the midterm. So he's trying to warn them.
Trump has been a disaster, the worst president in the history of the United States. That's terrible. But what I worry about even more is that something like 74 million people voted for him, that tens of millions of people believe his outrageous lie that this election was stolen. And what we have got to do, let me just be very clear, as the incoming chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, I remember what happened in 2010. And that is the Democrats during the 2008-2010 period controlled the White House, they controlled the Senate, controlled the House. You remember that? And you remember what happened in 2010? Democrats got wiped out. They had the power, but they did not deliver for the American people. So what we have got to do right now, no ifs, buts, or maybes.
Before he continues, got the power and did not deliver. Wouldn't you just say that is actually the description of what's happening now? Wouldn't you say the polling have been saying that for several months? You got into power. Wasn't that the response when the official ruling came down that Roe v. Wade was overturned? That you motherfuckers been in power and you ain't did shit. Wasn't that the reaction? So this also goes to prove to the point, why are we continuing to do the same thing? That's not working. Previous video, there he's pleading with the Democrats to do something. Don't go with Joe Biden. I mean, don't go with Trump. Go with Joe Biden. He's going to improve your lives. Now he's with this video saying, Democrats, please do something or we're going to lose midterms. This is January 2021.
Is have an aggressive agenda that says we understand that millions of people, including my neighbors right here in Vermont, people lining up in their cars in order to get emergency food. People can't pay their medical bills. People are going deeper and deeper into debt. People are facing eviction. Millions of people have lost their jobs. We have to act and act now. And the first order of business, by the way, is to pass an emergency COVID-19 bill, which, among many other things, says to working class Americans, we know you're in pain, and we're going to get you a $2,000 check for every working class adult in this country. We are on your side. We are prepared to take on the big money interests who have so much power. We're going to expand healthcare to cover the uninsured. We're going to deal with student debt. We have got to be bold in a way that we have not seen since FDR.
And we still haven't seen it, Bernie. So this is why I love using older video, so that we can have the benefit of history actually being lived and us seeing, what are you talking about? This is January 2022. We already passed January 2020. I'm sorry. This is January 21. It's already been a year. We're coming up on almost in 2 years. Has any of what Bernie Sanders has come true?
In the 1930s. And if we do not do that, those millions and millions of people who vote for Trump, they're going to continue to believe.
Maybe he needed to be more specific when he said bold spending, not to send it to the Ukraine people. Maybe they got confused and sent our money over there, Bernie.
Believe that government does nothing for them. And we've got to change that attitude. The only way I know how to do that is to do the work that the people need us to do. And by the way, we have got to develop strengthen grassroots organizing all over this country. Instead of investing in consultants and 30-second TV ads, we need to put tens of millions of dollars into neighborhood and community organizing all over this country. Talk to people, knock on their doors, not just the week before the election, but 2 years before the election. Listen to what they have to say.
And like always, the Democratic Party didn't listen to Bernie Sanders at all, as they never listened to Bernie Sanders whatsoever. He is a joke to them. He's the guest who shows up to dinner and then there's no placement for him. He just stands up on the side with his plate and his food in his hand, acting like he's part of the group. It's truly sad. So let's go to the third video now. And this third video, from my memory, yes, I covered this video before. So if you saw that stream, this last video that rounds out the whole point of what Bernie Sanders is doing. Let me make sure this is it. Oh yeah, this is it right here. I'll put it on the screen in just a second here. So remember the first video, and I said it's going to sound very much like this video. So this new video here, this is the new one from this year, from like last week. Let me look at the date. Whenever he put this out. Man, he's on a campaign trail again. He may have put out another. Yeah, this is it. A few weeks. Yeah. Oh, the 8th of October of this year. So now let's see what he's saying and see if it's not similar, if not almost identical to some of the things he said in the first video. And we can also answer some of the things he say in the video. We can kind of address, recap. So let's, how do I expand this here? Let's expand this.
Don't even know who's running for Congress in their district or for the U.S. Senate in their state or for governor. And they're thinking, it's not a presidential election. What's the big deal? Why should I go out and vote? Why should I knock on doors or work on a campaign? Who cares? Well, if you are one of those people, and that's what you're thinking, let me be very clear. You are dead wrong. The election in 5 weeks is the most important midterm election in the modern history of this country, and to a very significant degree will determine the future of the United States of America.
I can't hear this whole thing again. I'm having flashbacks to the last stream, but you get it. He is telling people the same thing. And what's so weird is that the Democratic Party is the ones that is in power. So anything that's happening wrong, Bernie Sanders, you can't say the Republicans are doing it. What is your pitch? Your pitch is keep the people who aren't doing anything in power instead of the Republicans because of Trump. That's what they have Bernie Sanders out here doing. That's the pitch he has. There's no other selling point because all they have to do is turn around and said, they're in office now. Why aren't they doing anything? And then he's going to start stuttering. Sad state. Now, that's the 3 videos directly from Bernie. Now let's talk about let's finish up the Bernie part of this by talking about how some of those in corporate media is talking about Bernie Sanders being on the campaign trail. Now, get this. I'm not sure who's doing more campaign events than Bernie Sanders. I know Joe Biden is not. Joe Biden is only doing small venues too because he has a cognitive problem. So Joe Biden. I'm sorry. I should be typing in Bernie Sanders. I checked in Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders, and let's go. Let's go. CNN, NBC, and Fox News. Let's see what comes up here. Oh wow. Let's do this last week. Hey, let's narrow this down. Campaigning. Okay, here's one of them. I did see this one. I almost used this one for, and then Pennsylvania's largest newspaper endorsed John Fetterman. So the title of this first one is from MSNBC. Democratic candidates are talking about the economy, but Bernie Sanders thinks otherwise. And this is Simone. So he goes on to Simone. This is the first time I'm using a Simone clip. Let's see how she does. Let's see how she does in this clip. So yeah. After this, of course. So actually, I'm not gonna say that. I did see a clip of her. I forget what she was talking about, but I did see a clip of her. I think it says candidates. Okay, so let's see what they're talking about here. Let's listen.
Right. Eddie Glaude is a MSNBC political analyst and chair of the Department of African American Studies at Princeton University. And Shermichael Singleton, well, he is my friend, and he is a political consultant and contributor to the Boston Globe. Eddie, I'm going to start with you. You know, I happen to have been at the Princeton Seminary last week actually, and everyone there wanted to know if I knew you, and I said I do know him, and he always has the elevated answer and makes us think deeper. So I'm going to ask you to give us this elevated answer today, my friend. You heard this conversation that we've been having about secretaries of state, democracy. You heard Jenna Griswold. Do you think that we are prepared as a country for what these midterm results could bring? We could have a divided Congress, election deniers who are now elected officials in key races.
You understand messaging and what they've got this phrase election deniers. They've got what the big lie as this phrasing as if it's like just a known dynamic, a known phrase. But yeah, I reject these phrases.
Do you think we're ready?
I'm not sure. First of all, it's wonderful to be in conversation with you at any time. But I'm not sure. You know, there's this idea of innocence that defines the American project. Baldwin talks about it in Fire Next Time as the innocence which constitutes the crime. There is this willful ignorance about the ugliness that resides on the underbelly of American life. And so that innocence allows us, you know, to clutch our pearls in the face of our horrors. You know, we
Let's get to the numbers here, please. Which party candidate would you be more likely to vote for in your district? 49% Democrat, 49% Republican candidate, 45% Democrat, 4% margin of error. So that means this lead is outside of the margin of error. So let's listen now at this point.
Times in Siena College, it is creating much conversation online and in strategist circles. And the poll shows that 49% of likely voters say that they now plan to vote for a Republican for Congress. And this is compared with 45% who plan to vote for Democrat. Last month, Democrats had a 1-point advantage in this poll. I think it's important to note that this poll surveyed just under 800 people, has a margin of error of 4 percentage points. Sure, Michael, give me
funny how when the poll doesn't say what you want, then you give out the details. But how many polls have said what you wanted to say, Simone, and you didn't give out the details? You like how they do that?
Given what Eddie just said, does this dovetail with what you're hearing from your Republican friends? What do you think is driving the shift? Do you really think that the magnitude of not even what is about to happen, what is currently happening, because people are voting as we speak, is seeping in some of the circles?
I mean, I'll give you a prime example. Voting started today in Georgia. I was talking to a friend of mine who just held a fundraiser for Herschel Walker. I think they raised about $2 million in 3 or 4 hours. And he was telling me as they have started to do
$2 million in 3 or 4 hours. And we can't solve the homeless problem. That's what we're saying here. That's what we're saying, people. Let me toss up some of your comments and also take a water break. Not really taking one, but like the video, please. And I want to put up some of your comments, just seeing what some of you are saying, because the comments are starting to build up here, where I'm not going to be able to get to all of them if I don't kind of address some of them now. But we're at 223 likes. Can we push to 300? That should get a lot more people in the chat. So if we could push to 300 likes, we got plenty of people watching to do that. Now let's see what everybody is saying in the chat here. Oh yeah, this time they meant it. It's always this time they mean it, and then somehow something happened. So of course Joe Biden is, oh yeah, we're gonna codify Wade, because they know all they have to do is say, oh, this thing happened, so what I told you before, this is why I can't keep my promise. It always happens that way. The parliamentarian. This is why I can't keep my $15 an hour promise, because the parliamentarian. So it'll be something that comes up if he's reelected, which I don't think he's going to run again, because he can't even campaign during the midterms. He's not up to it. Political strategist paid pasty. Yes. No ethics, no intelligent, willful ignorance. I sure will, Omar. I'm not sure. Where Omar. I hope you try. Oh, maybe it's somebody in the chat. What's up, Elizabeth? Thank you for that. All right, so I'll get back to the video. All right, so let's get back to the video. We're gonna get to the next video in just a second here, but there's a couple of more comments. When he gets to the Bernie Sanders part is what we're waiting for here. So let's continue.
Do new polling, they're seeing in the northern parts of Atlanta, suburbs like Cobb County, Marietta, Smyrna. Eddie's familiar with this. We're both Morehouse men. A lot of those areas, they've seen some movement for Herschel Walker over Raphael Warnock. And so I think that you're seeing, Simone, across the country, the economic issues, these crime issues that Republicans continue to discuss are palatable for a certain sector of our population, even those who may be somewhat hesitant of the new direction of the Republican Party. Those things matter and are more centered and prominent in their lives compared to some of the other issues. And I think that's why you're seeing movement and polls across the country where it appears that Republicans are not only going to take back control of the House, but they only need one seat for the Senate. And statistically, that's not very difficult for them to do.
Statistically, it's not, but given candidate quality, it might be a little harder. Sure, Michael mentioned early voting is underway in Georgia. I believe Senator Warnock actually went and voted.
I'm gonna fast because I know I remember the clip now. I did actually see this clip. I'm gonna the Bernie Sanders part was at the end, so let me play that now. This is the part I wanted to talk about, but there was some good information in the beginning.
On the economy, this is not new. We've heard this argument before, but I want you to listen to the
ad comes up because Bernie Sanders is about to appear. So of course, understand she used to be Bernie Sanders' surrogate or manager or something like that. So understand that in
Meet the Press.
Her critique or discussion of this.
You know, Senator, you have not. During 2016 and in 2020, you made a big deal about wanting to court Trump voters. I'm curious your perspective on this now.
Look, I think there are some extreme right-wing voters who are racists, who are sexist, who are homophobes, xenophobes. No, and I don't think you're going to ever get them. But I also think there are millions of people in this country, working class people, who look at Washington and they say, you know what? I'm falling further and further behind. I can't afford health care. I can't afford to send my kids to college. I can't afford the outrageous cost of prescription drugs. Who is listening to me? And I think what we need is a Democratic Party that has the guts to stand up to them and say, yeah, we're going to take on the greed of the insurance companies and the drug companies and Wall Street. And I think if we do that, some of those people, I'm not saying all, will say, you know what? I'm going to stand with the Democratic Party because on these economic issues, they're far preferable to right.
The problem is the Democratic Party is not going to do any of that. See, that's why this is so like disheartening to see Bernie Sanders in this position, because all of the stuff you're saying, Bernie Sanders, has been proven in the tenure that you have been working with these people not to happen, sir. It is not going to happen. Sad to see Bernie Sanders like this. So let's move to the next person, which is Stacey Abrams. And there has been a narrative out there that she's losing black men. And this is a segment that I was gonna do for a while, and I just been putting it off. But it goes with what we're talking about today, so that's why I'm sort of inserting it here. So let me see. This is, oh yeah, we're gonna start with the Charlemagne the God video. This is where Killer Mike was kind of getting dragged for pointing something out about Stacey Abrams, and I think his name is Kemp. I don't forget his first name, but Kemp. I think it's Stacey with an E, right? Abrams. Stacey Abrams. Yeah, I think that's how you spell it. Yeah, if it's wrong, it's wrong. So let's move to Stacey Abrams and what's happening with her in the midterms. Before I begin this next segment, please, if you would like to get notifications of streams like this, unannounced streams of when we're going to go live, you're watching this on replay and you want to know when we go live, just join our Substack. That's it on the screen. Or that's the link there on the screen. Join our Substack and you'll get notifications of when we go live. And also when we upload clips, we try to send notifications for that. You can watch it directly from your email when you get that notification. So make sure you do that. And also remember, like the stream, trying to get to 300 likes. That's the next goal for our likes. So back to the show, and we're, like I said, we're gonna start with this clip, Charlemagne the God, and his show, and Killer Mike is what the feature of this video is that we're gonna be talking about. So let's listen to the video.
But in a state like Georgia, you have to meet people where they are for real. And what I mean is, I'm from Atlanta, and 15 minutes outside Atlanta is Georgia. Georgia's 35% black, 35% African American, which means the rest of the people not black, but they are poor, working, and middle class. The guy she's running against is running an effective campaign, and Brian Kemp is running an effective campaign. I would advise, if I was in Ms. Kemp's camp, you need to go everywhere he just went. Ms. Abrams. And Ms. Abrams, you need to go everywhere Brian Kemp just went, because what Brian Kemp did was have an effective week with black people. Wow. And I would love to see her do that. But if she doesn't, that ain't our fault. Woo! Tara? But in a state like Georgia.
So understand, this was controversial. This comment or this assessment, this analysis was controversial, at least in the black sphere, black world, black subculture. So let's play it. Let's play some of the. So Killer Mike, Stacey Abrams, and then there's another clip I have, Tiffany Cross show on MSNBC with Roland Martin. We're gonna play that too, but this is all kind of wrapped in together, and you can see I'm searching. You all can see what I'm doing. So I am looking for Walker. Is it? Let me type in black men. So maybe that'll get to the video I'm looking for. Oh, that's the video I have waiting. Or black. So that one I'm gonna skip because that's not the video. I already have that one prepped. to show. I also wanted to cover Val Demings. I don't know if I'm going to have time to cover Val Deming. Oh, let's play this. This clip here could tell the story. I was looking for this other clip, but this is a news clip. I believe it's a local news clip that talks about the story. This is October 12th. The story of her losing black men. So let's see how they report it.
Suburban women get a lot of attention when it comes to voting, but in Georgia, there's another segment of the population that could play a major role in this year's midterms. Correspondent Kelly Meyer is also live in Atlanta. Kelly, we're talking about black men, and we cannot make assumptions about whether they'll lean liberal or conservative.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Nicole. Listen, we've been out in Atlanta all day today. And when you think Atlanta, you think a strong blue area, but that's just not the case. It's more purple. When we were talking with voters out there, they were saying they weren't really leaning Democrat or Republican. It was more about the candidate themselves, something you and I have talked about, candidate quality. And they want to make sure that they're focusing on the issues they care about. And if they do, it doesn't matter which party they are, they'll vote for them. And this could hurt Democrat governor candidate Stacey Abrams with what we're seeing, a major shift in black conservative movements going towards Kemp here. She's working in these final weeks of the race to gain support among black voters, specifically black male voters, to win their support ahead of the midterms.
The descendants of those who used to pick cotton are going to pick the next leaders of Georgia.
In Atlanta today, supporters of Democratic candidate Stacey Abrams working to get out the vote with black voters ahead of Election Day.
This is critically important. Blacks make up about 30% of the voters in Georgia, and if blacks turn out, they will really determine the outcome of this election.
But polling showing black men could be breaking away from Abrams and moving towards Republican incumbent Governor Brian Kemp, with 74% of black men saying they plan to vote for Abrams, compared with 82% of black women. There's been a shift among black voters in recent years moving towards the Republican Party. About 1 in 5 black men voted for Donald Trump in 2020. That's up from 2016. Republicans in Georgia seizing on the opportunity, opening a new black community center in College Park, an Atlanta suburb they say is trending Republican among members of the black community. They say that has a lot to do with the economy.
A lot of the people that come to our center, interestingly enough, are business owners. So I think we definitely have inroads to make with black business owners in particular, because they can see it firsthand, from the COVID shutdowns all the way to how it's impacting their businesses.
The shift giving Kemp an edge, the incumbent governor moving to a 5-point lead in a recent Emerson College poll and Hill survey taken just last week, with just 4 weeks until Election Day.
And Nicole, this rally that we're at now is for Democratic Senate candidate Raphael Warnock. He's focusing on another key voting group, and that's Latino voters. Republicans have made major inroads among that group as well in recent years. They hope that that leads to big wins for them on election night. Nicole.
All right, Kelly, thank you for that. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't.
So that's one. There is another one. So you get sort of the gist, but what I want to show you is, I guess I'm going to just end up showing you the video with Roland Martin here. I campaign really for black residents, offer solutions to state problem. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to end up showing you that video, because I was trying to show another one before I got to this as a setup.
When I started my business in 2011,
to kind of get you to understand the dynamic of why this is a problem in the black community, like this Killer Mike thing, but I'm not finding a video quickly. So let's just go to this one, because this also covers it, but in a different way, but it's fine. Let's go with this one. This is, I think her name is Tiffany Cross, and it's called Are Black Men the Key to Stacey Abrams Becoming Georgia's Next Governor? Now, it's my contention that black men are turning away for several reasons, one of which is your very strong support for the police state that's killing us. So I'll bring up that tweet after this video, but there's a tweet where she was blushing over the police. She had to sacrifice her community because she was going to be getting the rep as being soft on crime, and you can't do that as a Democrat. You have to project as being just as hard on crime. That's how we got the 1994 crime bill, is actually. So let's listen.
I do want to shift gears and talk about the midterm elections coming up. I want to turn to Georgia, which is on everyone's minds because less than 2 months out from the midterms, and at the center of the conversation among many, Black men. That rarely happens, and I want to center Black men today. Right now, we could be looking at a split ticket. Senator Raphael Warnock is leading in his race against Herschel Walker, but Stacey Abrams is behind Governor Kemp. Now, Abrams says if Black men vote for her, she'll win. But the math ain't really math in there. And I know Roland has a lot of thoughts about that. I want to bring into the conversation Cliff Albright. He's the co-founder of Black Voters Matter Fund. And Terrence Woodbury. He's a Democratic pollster and CEO and founding partner of Hitch Strategies. Cliff, I do want to start with you since you're on ground there in Georgia. We'll get to the debate between Walker and Warnock in a second. But just being on ground there, Cliff, what do you make of that? Like, are Black men large in number enough to decide this race for Stacey Abrams? Or is this just a headline that's, more yellow journalism and sensationalism than truth?
Yeah, good morning, Tiffany. Great to be here with you. Obviously, Black males, Black men voters make up enough of a block where we can be a part of what the difference is. And we got to keep in mind, we're talking about a state where in the presidential election in 20, the difference was famously those 11,700 votes that Trump was trying to find someplace. So in a situation like that, yeah, Black men as a voting bloc can be a big part of the equation. And, whether or not they come out, we come out, Black men in Georgia come out and support Stacey at the same rate that Black women do is a legitimate question. Now certainly Black men aren't going to bear the brunt of what happens in this election on their own, no more than Black women should bear the brunt of it. Some white folks could have to wake up and actually do the right thing in the state if they wanted to move forward. But I think that it is smart to raise this issue because at the end of the day, and we hate to admit it, but there is some number of Black men that will just refuse to vote. It's the sexism, it's the patriarchy.
Here we go. Because you can't say it's because you support the police state. You have to call it sexism. Now, does that mean there's no Black male you can find in Georgia? Absolutely not. I've been to Georgia many times. There's absolutely people you can find, men you can find like that in any race, but in Black men, absolutely. But not to acknowledge, not to even understand the impact of Stacey Abrams being so forcefully for the police state, for funding them, for increasing their funding. I can't find the thread, but there was a thread she made where it was like she was losing, like crime was one of the things she was losing on. And so she made this long tweet saying how she wanted to increase their pensions and give them raises and all this stuff she put. We need to not defund the police. We need to fund the police. I'm laughing at, I got a glimpse of a comment in the chat.
Worker that just refused to vote for a woman, whether that woman is Stacey Abrams or whether it was Hillary Clinton in 16. God. And that's an issue that we have to address. Again, that's not the majority of us. It's not a plurality of us, but we have to address that. And we have to.
It's not the majority, it's not the plurality, but let me bring it up because that's the thing that we want to talk about. Why? It's not the majority, it's not the plurality. But it is one of the talking points that the Democratic Party can use as to say why we don't want to support these terrible female candidates like Stacey Abrams, like Hillary Clinton, like Kamala Harris.
You have to be willing to call that out and call it what it is.
Yeah. Well, Terrence, you're on ground doing work, doing polling there. And so I think Cliff raises a really good point, which I want to dig into. But Terrence, I want to ask you just for the math part, because I don't know that it's fair to lay this at the feet of Black men and say, yeah, you guys cost us the election, because Black men overwhelmingly vote Democratic. And so as a pollster, I'm curious your take on this conversation around Black male voters in Georgia.
Yeah, thank you for that, Tiffany. You know, the truth is that the Democratic support gap between men and women is not unique to Black voters. There's a gender gap amongst all voters where men are more likely to vote conservative. Now, when you look at the math there, Stacey Abrams lost in 2018 by 55,000 votes. Had Black men voted for Stacey Abrams at the same rate as Black women, she would have had 120,000 more votes. So there is math there. The challenge is that since 2018, Republicans have doubled down on their efforts, coordinated and expensive investments, targeting Black men, targeting men of color. And in 2020, we saw Donald Trump double his margins amongst Black men in Georgia, a difference of 370,000 votes. The gap between Black men and Black women was the difference of 370,000 votes in Georgia. And so we do have to close that gap. And while that is not unique to Black men, and we see that gap amongst all men of color, the difference with Black men is that they were Democratic voters. These were Obama voters. And some would argue that they were only Obama voters. They were never, in fact, Democratic voters. And that is where Democrats have work to do to prove that since 2020, they have made progress on the issues that matter most to Black men, and that they have a plan for Black men moving forward.
All right. So Cliff mentioned Hillary Clinton. Terrence talked about Obama.
So now listen to Roland Martin. We're going to end it on Roland Martin because we got to get out of here before the Savvy and JB show. And I still got to do CODIFY. I mean, CODIFY is shorter. I did the two longer segments first, which is Bernie and Stacey. So let's listen to Roland Martin. And for those who may not know, Roland Martin is a Black media person and Black subculture. He's a known person, at least for those that are, I would say, 30 and above, 35 maybe and above. So I wouldn't say above like 60, like they wouldn't know who he is, but yeah.
We have to take this thing back a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why am I wearing this shirt? It's my alpha shirt. First of all, we vote, but here's why. Black men are the second most loyal voting bloc of the Democratic Party. Who's number one? Black women. So let's just be real clear who Black men are voting for. In 2012, there was a 9-point gap between Black men and Black women, Obama-Romney. So people try to make this out to be about totally sexism. That's not true. There were two men running and Black men. Black men were not happy with Obama. They felt he should have done more because on the issue of economics, on criminal justice, and things along those lines.
You see how she is completely unaware of why. Completely, like, why? Like, completely unaware why anybody Black would be unsatisfied with Barack Obama. The class divide in the Black community.
Those lines.
The upper class Black people love Obama. Like the Blackish, you ever watch the show Blackish? That type of people, that type of Black family love Obama.
And so what then happens? You go to 16, now it's a 13-point gap. You go to 20, now it expands. But here's a race people ignore, and Terrence knows this as well. Tom Tillis, the architect of voter suppression in North Carolina, was getting around 18% as well. Why? Because Democrats were ignoring that constituency. Black women also organized and mobilized to force the Democratic Party to pay more attention to them. In many cases, Black men within the party have not actually done that. So what you're seeing are Black men who are saying, you're not paying attention to me. You're ignoring what's happening when it comes to economics. You're ignoring me when it comes to the critical issues. And so what the Democratic Party has not done is create a specific strategy to target those individuals because it comes down to numbers. Warnock beat Kelly Loeffler by less than 100,000 votes. And so you're the Democratic Party and you're just ignoring these numbers. What did Terrence just say? You are ignoring the potential to win. You should be trying to get every vote. And I'm just going to go ahead and put it out here because someone has to say it. The fundamental problem with the Democratic Party is that white strategists are controlling the money, are controlling the strategy.
Yeah.
Yes, African Americans are having input, but if you're trying to win, you better listen to Black people. You better fund these initiatives. Otherwise, you're going to lose. And that gap is going to widen.
And fund candidates. Instead of meddling around in Republican elections, trying to put one over the other because you think they're easier to beat. Fund candidates.
But also,
why are we doing this? We're always projecting as if, here's the strategy. Why don't you do this? Do these strategy, as if these people don't know these strategies. As if these people don't know that that's a strategy they can use. We're believing what they're saying when it's like, oh, we want to deliver this. No, they do not. Oh, they do not. So let's actually quickly go to CODIFY now. And I believe I have a clip. Let me see if I have a clip of Joe Biden talking about codifying Roe v. Wade. Where is out? I stuff a lot of videos in here. Where am I at? Let's just go here. Let's go here. So let's bring up the video of Joe Biden saying he's going to codify. Let's just put abortion rights. Let's cover abortion rights, and I got 11 minutes, less than that. So let's go to, where's my search bar here? Okay, here it goes. Let's go to CODIFY and Joe Biden. I'm sure all of you have, or most of you have seen the video, the lies. So, wow. Can you see that? Breitbart is the first one that comes up. I guess it doesn't matter the video. So let's listen to Joe Biden codifying, saying he's going to codify.
Senator Lindsey Graham called for an abortion ban that criminalizes doctors and nurses who provide medical care for their patients in need. If Republicans get their way with a national ban, it won't matter where you live in America. So let me be very clear. If such a bill were to pass in the next several years, I'll veto it. But we can't let it pass.
You see how now there's a reason to keep him in office? Because if Republicans pass it, I'll veto it. Yeah, he'll veto. Guess what else he'll veto? A bill called Medicare for All. I'll veto it. But that one, he didn't whisper. He said it boldly and loudly. So.
To pass in the first instance. Immediately after the Dobbs decision came down, I signed an order, and my administration took a number of actions to protect the access to reproductive health care, including emergency medical care, to protect a woman's right to travel from a state that prohibits abortion.
He barely did anything. Garbage. Because he's not really for abortion rights. So at the tender age of like 72, he changes his ideas on abortion. That's what we're believing. So let's continue.
Abortion to a state that allows it, and to protect the privacy of sensitive health information, preventing states from tracking women or seeking help. That's why in these midterm elections are so critical. Elect more Democratic senators to the United States Senate and more Democrats to keep control of the House of Representatives. And folks, if we do that, here's the promise I make to you and the American people. The first bill that I will send to the Congress will be to codify Roe v. Wade. And when Congress passes it, I'll sign it in January, 50 years after Roe was first decided the law of the land.
Just lying. Just lines. But let's go to the next video here of Joe Biden. Oh wow. Oh wow. Let's put this together. Wait, didn't you promise to codify Roe if you were elected? Didn't Obama make this promise? So let's put this up here. This graphic. I promised to codify Roe during my 2020 election. Democrats say they want to MAGA Democrats and MAGA Republicans protect reproductive rights while campaigning. Promised to codify if elected. Had over 50 years to codify. We got the votes. Everyone can go fuck off now. Use the same issue next election. Oh, it's saying how like steps that they go to. So they're just using this. And I hope people see that. I hope they see that he's just saying this. I mean, do they really believe this? Let's listen to, hang on a second here. Let's listen to with Blitzer. Actually, I'm not going to play that long one. There's a shorter one that I am looking for. But the other one I do want to show a contrast, but the other one I wanted to show was Joe Biden abortion. Joe Biden talking about abortion rights and how it wasn't that important to him. It's an older video. I was trying to find that video to show the contrast, but I do got to get off here in just a second here. So maybe not. Anyway, same video. Let's see the close-up, and then we're gonna move on and sign off here. Let's see the close-up. But the desperation from the Democratic Party. You got Bernie Sanders out here campaigning for a party that's in office, that's not doing anything. So we had that one, and then we had Stacey Abrams out here saying we can't defund the police. We have to give the police more money, give them more raises, more police on the street, down for funding the police more, and then turn around and don't understand why black men have turned away from her. Now we're on Joe Biden saying he's going to codify Roe v. Wade, even though they had all this time to do it. And didn't Obama say the same thing? He wanted to codify Wade. Now I remember. Let's can I get it in? Let's see if I can get this in. Let's see if I can get this in. I'm going to try to get it in. So I just remember where I saw it. I don't know how it was on the Jimmy Dore clip, but I just saw that clip, and maybe I thought I saw it on Twitter, but I think I saw it in Jimmy's clip, on Jimmy's video. One second to everybody. Oh, that's too far back. 2 words, made in America. Feels like this was new. Why am I not seeing it? I think I'm skipping over it. Oh, here it goes. False promises. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. All right. So, got
hey guys, welcome to Forward.
Few minutes before I get off on here. So let's now remember to come back for the JB show. The Savvy and JB show. He plays the Codify video, so let's get past that. But he plays this video also. Let's see when they made the promise, and let's see if they kept this promise.
Is sign the Freedom of Choice Act.
That's the first thing. That's the first thing he would do. He said, the first thing he would do, the first thing. And then he got elected, and what happened?
Now, the Freedom of Choice Act is not my highest legislative priority.
Is that the first thing?
So, do you think we could have a repeat offense with Joe Biden promising to codify Wade and then getting the votes and getting it? It's not that important to me. Or him promising it and then not even running. a second Democrat getting in there and them not even codifying it. But the point that I'm making is that if you believe what the Democrats, what have you been watching the last 10 years? What have you been watching the last 2 years? If you believe this strategy of them in the midterm election, what Bernie Sanders is doing, what Stacey Abrams is doing, and I didn't have the chance to show you some of the things that she's doing in the community to try to project towards black men, going to black barbershops, even had a rapper do some stuff, had some people shout her out like Steve Harvey. All to get black men, not because she's delivering with the police state, it's because of the other guy is so bad and he's doing these other things that are bad. And then you have the ultimate sort of diss, and I'm going to leave you with this ultimate diss of saying you're going to codify Roe v. Wade, knowing that there's women who are hanging on those words, knowing you're not going to do any of that. That's what's disgusting to me. And I'm going to leave you with that. I am Compton J signing off. You left shit out.